Good evening, uh, my very dear students of post-colonial literature, as well as the audience worldwide. This is once again Dr. Zia Ahmed. This video is being recorded for the benefit of students who are going to start with me this novel, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, as the post-colonial text. In this video, we will be able to discuss the first chapter. How does it start? What are the introductions into it with respect to the characters, as well as the places, and what is the tone of the novel being set by the writer. So, this is the novel Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. The novel begins with a very small quote from the poem of W.B. Yeats, The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. I'm not going to discuss in detail these lines because it should be discussed in the poetry section. However, I need to point out to my students that the third line tells us about the title of this novel by Achebe, that is, Things Fall Apart. It gives two types of situations. Number one, when the center is not that much powerful, anarchy is everywhere, and it's not possible for the center to keep the things together. As a result, more and more disruptions continue to happen. Or it can also be taken as the matter of faith, that if the faith is not strong, at that time, as Chaucer would say, what would the sheep do if the shepherd is shitten? So, in that sense, the thing can be taken with respect to the faith as well. But more so, it's about the post colonial situation, like it was the center, London or Britain, which was holding together different countries of its empire. But with the weakening of the center, with the passage of time, the power was declining, and as a result, every country was getting some type of freedom. So, all these meanings can be suggested with respect to the title of the novel, Things Fall Apart. HAP has begun the first chapter, like if we look at the first passage, I would love to read the first passage for my students so that here the tone may be set. Okonkwo was the well known throughout 9 villages and even beyond. His fame rested on solid personal achievements. As a young man of 18, he had brought honor to his village by throwing Emma Lindsay, the cat. Emma Lindsay was the great wrestler who, for 7 years, was unbeaten. From Umufia to Mabano, he was called the cat because his back would never touch the earth. It was this man that Okonkwo threw in a fight, which the old man agreed was one of the fiercest since the founder of their town engaged the spirit of the wild for 7 days and 7 nights. So if you look at the passages, some of the words I've highlighted, but even before that, Okonkwo is the very name of the protagonist of this novel. Okonkwo is the representative name of the African people, and then so the cultural representation would also come there. And the writer is trying to let us know that he was a very well known person in the 9 villages and beyond. So, figure of 9 is very important. That there were 9 villages and he was well known in these 9 villages. It means that the tribe of Okonkwo there was sitting in these 9 villages, and as a result, it's a type of federation which was being shown to us. And his fame, as according to the writer, rested upon his personal achievements. It means that he had not inherited anything, he had not been given any support from someone. It is actually his own self achievements. I mean, he made a lot of efforts in order to become a great man, from a powerful or poverty stricken person to someone powerful. It was only because of him. It's a type of thing that we can call as you know the man who develops with his own personal efforts, that may be called self-made man. But how he was self-made? What was the kind of contribution? The writer tells us that when he was 18 years of age at that time, he defeated a man who was called Emma Lindsay the Cat. This Emma Lindsay the Cat was a wrestler basically, and his title is Cat. And that cat title was quite appropriate to Emma Lindsay because he was sharp, he was clever, and he was not defeated by anyone for a complete 7 years. So that is the kind of situation. And here, this was the young man, Okonkwo of 18 years. He was able to defeat this man after a great fight. and the people would say really it was a very great fight in between the areas which were known as Mufia to Mobano. It was the very big fight, and ultimately Okonkwo was able to defeat this person. So we can see that from the very beginning, the muscular power of man is going to be established here. No mention of the beautiful girl, as in most of the novels we can expect, or no mention of the beautiful environment, as in the novels of Hardy we may expect, or even that of the George Eliot. But here is the power and muscularness of man that is going to be talked about. And in the culture about which we are going to talk about, this was very important because that was the culture of the struggle of man, of the survivor. And as a result, for the sake of survival, one needs to have powerful muscles, and that is why this is the type of start that Okonkwo had. We have some more introductions about Okonkwo. For example, if we just leave these 3 4 lines which are not highlighted, come to just the highlighted lines, we find he was tall and huge, and his bushy eyebrows and white nose gave him a very severe look. He breathed heavily, and it was said that when he slept, his wives and children in their houses could hear him breathe. When he walked, his heels hardly touched the ground, and he seemed to walk on springs as if he was going to pounce on somebody. And he did pounce on people quite often. He had a slight stammer, and whenever he was angry and he could not get his words out quickly enough, he would use his fists, and he had no patience with unsuccessful men. He had had no patience with his father. Leaving aside the last line, if you just see what are his features, first of all, he's a very tall man, he's hugely built, and the eyebrows are quite furious because these are bushy ones, quite big one eyebrows, and a nose he had quite big, and because of all that, he had a very fierce, very fearsome look. And not only this, when he was breathing, for example, at that time, it could be seen, it could be heard that he was breathing very heavily. One could listen the noise of his breathing when he was waking, and when he was sleeping, he could be heard that his breathing was very much powerful and very much heavier. And then when he walked quite swiftly, quite you can say a springy type of walk, that he would seem to be jumping while he was walking. It goes to show that he was so powerful. And then he was ready to attack anyone, and if he was unable to attack with words, he would use his fist to attack. So he was quite brave and quite fearless person. He could and immediately could resort to fighting and beating the person. So giving arguments like an educated person was not possible for him. It was the violence of the physical force that he would use for anyone who didn't like him, who didn't talk to him in such a good way, or he was given anger. So a type of stammering was also present. So this is the introduction of this man. I mean, once again, this paragraph, the physical power, the muscular power of the man is being highlighted. Perhaps it was quite suitable to be like that in that culture in which he was surviving. In that environment, definitely physical prowess of a man was necessary in order to succeed, because that was the word of struggle, not only of fighting with other people but also fighting with nature, plowing the land, growing plants, and then harvesting them, then keeping them at home and selling them and trying to establish your own family. All this needed the physical power, and that is why at that time Okonkwo was quite popular, and he was therefore very powerful as well. So this is the type of situation in which we are finding the protagonist of the story. And now coming to the last line of the highlighted paragraph visible on the screen, he had no patience with his father. It means that Okonkwo didn't like his father. Why he didn't like him? His father's name was Onoka. It's a long story. The writer has given so many passages about that. And what I can say about Okonkwo, that he was an unsuccessful man according to Okonkwo, because he was not working hard on the piece of land. He was not growing crops. He was not bringing any honor or dignity to his family or to his tribe. And most of the time, this Onuka was singing songs, playing on the flute, and borrowing money from the people. And in that way, he was a type of romantic person, that person who was carefree and didn't like to have struggles of life, just wanted to play and sing. He would get money from the other people as well. In that way, we can say that Okonkwo didn't like him, because Okonkwo's ambition was to rise in life, to become the hero of the people, or to become the important person. His father was not like that, and as a result, when he heard that his father was in loan, in debt, and he was not going to do the great things of the life. At that time, Okonkwo hated him because, according to him, a man is a failure if he doesn't become great in the village, in the community, in the tribe. That person is a failure, and he thought his father to be failure because of all these situations. And then the writer lets us know about some of the things of the father of Okonkwo. For example, if you look at the highlighted lines, you can find again Okonkwo's father Anoka is playing and is getting money, unable to return money, and one of the person, another musician Okoye, comes to him in order to demand for the money, but still there is no money. And Okonkwo's father Anoka says that he will be paying money to someday to the people. He's got some lines on the wall, and he says that when he gets money from one person, he draws a line on the wall, and as a result, number of lines were increasing, number of lines were not decreasing, because he was unable to pay back the money. So that was the reason that in the passage number 2, he had no patience with his father. That was said by the writer. So father and the son, Okonkwo and Anoka, are quite different people from each other, and as a result, it was not possible for them to become on the same page. One was really very harsh, very powerful, physically strong, and ambitious as well, and the other one was only a musician. So, in this way, these things kept on happening, and Okonkwo's father Anuka became, in the eye of Okonkwo, a very failed person. As, for example, the last paragraph of this chapter, the writer tells us when Anoka died, he had taken no title at all, and he was heavily in debt. Any wonder that then that his son Okonkwo was ashamed of him? Fortunately, among these people, a man was judged according to his worth, not according to the worth of his father. Okonkwo was clearly cut out from great things. He was still young, but he had won fame as the great wrestler. In the Nine village, he was a wealthy farmer and had 2 barns full of yams, and had just married his third wife. To crown it all, he had taken 2 titles and had shown incredible prowess in 2 intertribal wars. And so, although Okonkwo was still young, he was already one of the great men of his time. Age was respected among his people, but achievement. But the Crown it all had taken 2 titles and had shown incredible prowess. And so, although Okonkwo was still young, he was already one of the greatest men of his time. Age was respected among his people, but achievement was revered. As the elders said, if a child washed his hands, he could eat with kings. Okonkwo had clearly washed his hands, so he ate with kings and elders, and that was how he came to look after the doomed lads who was sacrificed to the village of Umuthia for their neighbors to avoid war and bloodshed. This ill-fated lad was called Ikmefiona. Let's not talk here about Ikmefiona, because later on 1-2 chapters will be dedicated to Ikmefiona's story. But first of all, let us see that the end of the chapter has been a type of repetition of the first passage, because here also the power of Okonkwo is being established by telling that he had won the titles, he had won the wrestling matches, and he had done everything with which he could become a very different person as compared to his father. Although he was a young person, but he had tried to come very different from his father, and as a result, he was able to sit among the people who were rich and powerful people. He had earned 2 titles as well, and one of the title was, as it is said, that he was the person who had, married the third wife. So marrying more and more women in that society was thought to be the sign of nobility and greatness, and again having barns full of yams, that was again something to be very great. So in this way, we had the type of situation about which Okonkwo became very much different from his father. So the whole chapter is going to establish the power of Okonkwo as a man. Perhaps in that community about which we are going to read, the tribe about which we are going to read in this novel, Igbo tribe or Ibo tribe, whatever pronunciation may be, this tribe had certain values, and according to these values, Okonkwo was a very successful person because of the characteristics which he carried. So the novel also, if we say that it's a representation of the African American people, African people. I'm sorry, I wanted to say only African, not African American. African people, the people of Nigeria, and the story talks about the life, talks about the timing when it was British people were entering into this area just to colonize that area. So it's not going to be the modern times, it's going to be the times when such developments had not taken place in such a place. the white man enters and ultimately conquers them all, and as a result, it's possible for him to establish the government and victory there. In such a situation, just before that colonization by the white man, this was the type of culture in which the man's power, muscular power, being huge and well built, was thought to be something important. So, in that way, it was an ancient society, not that much educated according to the modern standards, not that much civilized and cultured according to the modern standards, but it was really cultured and civilized in its own way, let's say. And so it has own ways and rules as well. So that's the type of comparison we will be trying to see again and again. White man against the black man in Africa, how these people were struggling in order to save themselves from colonization, and how the white man was using its power, its cleverness, and intelligence in order to control these people. That will be the whole thing we will be reading. So, the representative of this community, that is a Kankvo, that is the representation of the community. Definitely, the old people would be like that. How it was smashed, how it was overpowered, how it was occupied by the white man. That all story is going to be described there. So, in this way, it is a story of the colonizer and the colonized, and that is why it's a post colonial text as well. So, some of the questions can be resolved. What was the culture? What was the type of thing like there? And what was the way how people would love to become great in this world? Of the African people of the tribe of Ibo in Nigeria. This is all mentioned in the very beginning of the chapter, so a mixed type of story will be read out by us. And the comparison has also been established between the weak people who are unable to grow up and the people who are stronger in that culture and become greater in that way. So, this is all about this first chapter. Uh, we are finishing here. We will be talking about the next coming chapters as well. But so far, students, you must take care of what is the appearance of Okonkwo, and then what is the cause of his success, and what is the cause of his hatred and dislike for his father. So, thank you very much for watching. If you people have understood anything, enjoyed anything, do not hesitate to subscribe the button, hitting the subscribe button. That would not cost anything. It would just increase my number of the subscribers, and that's a happy thing. So thank you very much for watching, and that's it from me for this day.